Good afternoon, everybody. Today we will have a short session just to discuss the assignments. Assignment number one for the course, the first module, A, research methodology. So I have prepared an assignment which is generic type. As we know that we have a heterogeneous group of students right from physics, chemistry, life sciences, health sciences, humanities, and so on. So it is not, appropriate to make specific questions for each discipline. Rather, what I have made is, I will show you the assignment that I have made. And you can ask me questions in the chat box to clarify any doubts. First, I will explain for about 15-20 minutes. Okay. So this is the first question. And it says, write a research proposal on a topic other than your PhD thesis topic. So some of you might have already started working or might have done the experiment. So it is different from, it is not that elaborate, as a part of like your thesis. It's a small experiment. So you write a proposal on a topic other than your PhD thesis. In that proposal, you have to highlight under these headings. First is the topic of research. What is the topic of research that you want to study? Then second is the objective of the research. You give in few sentences. Don't have to write very long description. Maybe just say this is like, one line. You write some 2-3 lines. What you want to do? What is the objective of this one? Then little bit more background. What is the motivation for that research? And then if there is a literature in that area, you can go to the literature and see and what is that status of that research work in that topic today. And then state if the research work involves testing a hypothesis or to measure a functional relationship between two parameters. One is a control parameter and other is a response parameter. Or it can be measurement of a value of a quantity, or it can be an observational research, some phenomena you are observing. And then you have to write a note, research design. So when you are formulating a research problem, you write a design of what we will be doing. So this is more of a proposal, and this is a part of, when you seek funding from the funding agency, then you write a proposal. So this prepares you to write a proposal. Now, just to give you some hints, guidelines, that you don't think that you have to do experiment for a long time in your laboratory. It can be an experiment. I gave you some examples during the course that when we did the hypothesis testing, and we discussed the 3 problems, like rolling a ball between 2 points on a channel. And then the data was measured, rolling time was measured, and several data were collected with and without lubrication. And then you wanted to know whether there is a difference between what was the effect of lubricant. So that kind of an experiment can be planned, not exactly this one, a similar type of experiment where you are seeing effect of one thing on the other aspect. So like you have a control parameter and a response parameter, or you have a cause and effect type of study. This causes this, like lubricant changes the rolling time of a ball. Like that, one small experiment you can devise in the laboratory, even at home you can do. Then the second thing we discussed was of course, that was like the fish in the lakes. So that is quite an elaborate experiment. But the third one was like flipping a coin. And you want to know whether the coin is defective or not. And then you had a null hypothesis that coin is not defective. And then you do the experiment, you flip the coin several times, 100 times, 200 times, and found out the probability of getting head and tail. So that kind of experiment one can do at home. Similarly, you can take a die, which has got 6 faces, and in that same thing you can do whether that you want to know whether the die is effective, defective, whether it has a preferential orientation towards a particular side. So, some die when you roll, it may go preferential. Majority of the time, you may get some particular number, 1 to 6. So that experiment can be done. Similarly, these are all examples I am giving. You can have n such problems. You can even that measurement of a value. Now you can just take one rod, anything you can measure, take and measure the value n number of times. So you will not get same. And nowadays, is in the era of digital things, so you can take even a physical scale or a vernier caliper, or try to do measurement of length. You can even measure the pressure or temperature. Anything you can measure, weights, or even you can measure the derivative quantities like density of a particular object, and like that. So you will have several such cases where you will have an experiment about hypothesis. Similarly, this social issues, you can try to derive, I'm just giving an example, like correlation between tobacco and oral cancer. The people who are in the medical field or social studies, they may like to have experiment of this type, that this causes this. So you can decide. I'm not going to say you do only this part, but I'm just giving you the generic type of problems that you can choose, and which in and around you. You can even do a sample survey. The social science, humanities students may take a small sample survey and find out some observational research they can do. It's like, if you are interested in wildlife, you can also do like evolutionary type of research. If you have a nearby wildlife sanctuary, like nicer people may like to go to Nandan Kanan and then do some studies. So it not necessarily involving an elaborate time from your part, but certainly it will be very, you can think of innovating your research problem, and that is where the assessment will depend upon how innovative your research project is. So in the motivation, you write that. So all this, I'm just giving you examples. For example, the chemistry people may like to have pH versus EMF. No, the pH meter determines the voltage, and then you convert into pH meter, pH value. So relationship between EMF and pH. Similarly, you can verify certain equations like Nernst equation, or any different types of equations. You can try to verify them by like y versus x plotting. So you take an instrument and see verification of that relationship. Similarly, like temperature versus pressure. So cause and effect type of thing. This causes that. Also, in every field, you will find there is a cause and effect type of work. There is a functional relationship. There is a control parameter. There is a response parameter. And then there are measurement of values, observational research, even behavioral science you can do. You have some hypothesis and try to see whether it is true or not. So all these things, calls for and then the sample size you can decide. So all that, there are so many cases. You have to just think about some innovative research problem and then start working on that. This is the first assignment. You don't have to really take literally kind of problems I have suggested to you. You think of your own way, innovating on how you can do a research, and you have the time. I am giving about 1 month time. By 1 month, you should be able to submit all the assignments. So this is the first problem. We can come back to it again. Now this is the second assignment. So you have to simulate a research study to investigate the research work described in the first problem. So in the question number 1, we gave you a problem to propose a research proposal. Now you are doing a study. That was a writing the research design. You have the idea, you write about these aspects, and here you actually do the experiment. So it is a simulation study, like small experiment. You are carrying out the study to investigate research work that's described in question number 1. Create a quantitative data set. This is most important. So outcome of your study should be some quantitative data as a part of investigation and subject it to statistical analysis. So whatever number of data set you generate, you justify also why you chose this number of data measurements, all that you have to mention. If it is a part of hypothesis testing, then find out if the null hypothesis can be rejected. So you start with the hypothesis, write the null hypothesis, and then conclude based on your statistical treatment whether the null hypothesis can be rejected. Like, that coin, you start with the null hypothesis, coin is not defective. You do an experiment and you decide how many times you will do, and you find out, then conclude based on statistical analysis whether the null hypothesis can be rejected. Make a report with following sections. So you have to, again, here you have to write a paper. It's like a research paper. So you write the title, your title of the paper, authors and their affiliation. Then you write a small abstract. Actually, first you should write the introduction, wherein you will write the why this work is important, what the motivation, what the literature you have done. Then you write the materials and methods, what experiment you have done, how you have done, what instrument or what anything you have used, you can mention. Then the results, including all data, you write, give all the data, raw data, and then whatever analysis you have done, you mention that how you have analyzed the data. Subsequently, you discuss the results, including the statistical analysis, whatever inferences you have drawn of this outcome. Then you give, if you have some references, figures and tables, give them. So it is like a paper you are writing. So your written writing skills are also tested, and how good you write a paper, that will be tested in this second assignment. And then the third is presentation. So prepare a PowerPoint presentation on the research work done described in question number 2. And here you have to highlight objective of the research, including you write like I am writing now. I write in the topic and the name and my CI. In the first slide, you can mention like that. What is the objective, the title of your problem, and the name, affiliation. Then introduction to the research work and hypothesis, if you have an hypothesis. So what is that work, your introduction, you are in the slides you are mentioning. And write the methodology you have adopted to to study the research problem. And you are recording, so you are speaking also. So it is like you are presenting to a conference. Then your results, you give the results in slides. Then you discuss outcome of your research results and conclude. So you have to actually prepare a video recording of your PPT presentation, maybe about 5 minutes, not more than 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, you can have about 5-6 slides. You can decide based on that, depending upon, I will not say you strictly adhere to 1 slide per minute or whatever is way. You decide, you have to convey in 5 minutes the work that you have done in the second question. So this is the assignment that you have been given. And so I go back. So this is 10 marks, 30 marks, and you have 10 marks. So bring in all your ingenuity, innovative ability to propose a problem. Write the proposal as if you are writing to a funding agency, So why this work is important, what people have done, what will be the outcome of this work, right? So, and then whatever is the hypothesis, or if you are doing some measurement, you mention. And then you carry out the study, experiment and do the analysis, write the paper, and finally you make a oral presentation. So this is the way assignment has been made for you, and you're about, let us say, 1 month. So in a month, today is what? Today is 16th. So 16th March. So you can. So what we have done is now you don't have to send the this to me. So what you are going to send now? 3 documents. One is the research proposal. Second is the paper, research paper, and third is the video recording of your PPT. These things you will be sending to the coordinator of your CI, which I will be communicating to you, or your Dean Academic. We will request the Dean Academic to communicate to you. So they will, you have to send them, not to us. So every student will send the 3 parts: the research proposal, the research paper, and the PPT presentation, video recording of PPT presentation, to the respective coordinator. I'll share with you the names and email ID of the coordinators. You will also get the same information from your Dean Academy. So you have 1 month's time. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask me. And this question assignments will be available in Anuvidya site, where I will also put the PPTs of the 10 lectures along with this assignment. So you can see it there also. Okay. Let me see if you have any questions. Yes. Now let us go to the questions. We have enough time to discuss the questions, so feel free to ask questions about this. Any doubts you have, you can. Yeah. So if there is no relevant literature on the topic, I select how should I address that. So no, nothing. If there is no literature, don't worry. You don't have to necessarily mention about the literature survey. If you see here, literature review, you say that this you can always add. If you don't have any literature in this area, don't worry about it. You write that there is no literature. If it is totally new problem, or if it is a problem already existing, you can just mention. You don't have to, if there is no literature on this, don't worry. You just mention. If you have, mention. Otherwise, don't worry. Topics chosen should be allied to the PhD project of interest or not. So you see here what I have mentioned. Write a research proposal on a topic other than your PhD thesis topic. You see, this is to for the fair play. Thinking that some of you may be in the advanced stage of your PhD, or you may have already a publication. So that puts you on a situation where you can straight away use your data and write the paper. So to bring you all on a level playing field, we are proposing that should not be a part of your PhD problem, which you have already handled. So you can take a top problem, which it need not have to take much of your time, in the sense, in experiment that you are proposing, you should be able to complete it very shortly, maybe in a week's time, at the most, probably a week or 2. So that normal PhD problem will take 1 to 2 months or 6 months or 1 year. So these are not that kind of problems. So you don't take the PhD problem which you have spent 6 months or 1 year or so. So this is a training. So how to do research methodology, this is for that purpose. So it is like a test case, and that is why we expect that you don't use your PhD problem as a part of this. Can we select any topic of our choice? Yes. If you are a physicist, you don't not necessarily that you have to take a physics problem. We can take any problem. So it is like even day-to-day problems that we encounter in and around us, we can also. So you can take any topic of yours. Yes, you are very true. Any topic you can choose. You can prefer to take a problem where you can do statistical analysis. You know, that is what I am looking at it, that you must generate some data out of that work. So you are doing some measurement, you are doing some survey, so you generate some set of data. It could be 20, 30, 50, 100. Like, you know, if I roll a die, I can roll a die 100 times in one day itself, you know. So that kind of experiment you can do. There will be not necessarily a die. You will have even this Kaudi, you know, this Kaudi they play during Diwali time, 5 of them or 6, 7 of them. So like that, how many of them will be up, how many will be down. So I'm just giving you examples. You may come out with many ideas. Nowadays, you will see many such games. So you can use different games where you generate data and you generate good number of data so that you can apply statistical analysis to that data. So you have something in your mind, a hypothesis, or you are doing some measurements, very simple measurements of some like weights, lengths, anything, some time. So all that, so you can use innovative idea to do some measurements, and after some 20, 30 measurement or 100 measurement, do a statistical analysis, mention about the precision or accuracy of your data. No. So that kind of, you have to measure the mean, standard deviation, all that. If you are measuring a value, you will be telling the mean, standard deviation, about the true value. Yes, about true value. Do some t-test, or you know, that kind of testing you can do. So when I say statistical analysis, means whatever statistical analysis we have discussed in our lectures, you need to do that. Is there no relevant literature on topic? Select how we can. So don't worry if there is no relevant literature. But as I see now, whatever you pick up, there will be some literature in the internet. You go to Google, you will find some useful results. Whatever you choose, you will find. Are we going to publish the results in Q2? Yes. Q2 question 2. In question 2, you are writing you are doing the experiment and writing a paper. See, the Q1 is the proposal. You make a document where you are proposing the experiment, so that your writing skill, your idea, the innovative idea will come in the first question. How innovative is your idea? You get marks for that. How well you can write the research proposal, you get marks for that. Then second question, you are doing the experiment. So how well you have done the experiment, you have generated some data, and then you are doing statistical analysis, how good you are able to analyze the data statistically, and how good you are writing the paper. That is the question 2. So you are essentially as if you are writing a paper for publishing in question 2. That's why I get the IMRAD, introduction, materials, results, and discussion. Are we going to publish the results in Q2? So that is the data. Q2, you are writing the paper. You're doing the experiment, writing the paper. Is there any word limitation? Yes, good question. So Normally, it depends. So we are not specifying that length of the paper, because different problems may require different length. But I would say 5 pages. Don't write too much of so maximum 5 pages of your paper, so that somebody has to read that papers. The entire paper should not exceed, I say, 5 pages, including your all IMRAD, complete one, including references, tables. 5 pages is sufficient. So that is the one. Proposal may be 1 or 2 pages. The proposal may come even in 1 page. And if you have the slides of 5 minutes, you can decide how many slides to make. Normally, literature review is an elaborate work. So do you expect a detailed, genuine literature survey? See, relevant to your work, if there are reports, then definitely you need to do literature, to quote, to refer them in your presentation. So it is not it's a simulation study. So it is not an elaborate experiment of your PhD problem, for which your literature survey itself may take about a month. So you can do a quick, first you can do a quick literature survey in, let us say, when you in Google you look, but Google you may not find, sometimes you will find a lot of junk. So depending upon the type of problem you are envisaging, you may have to go to your search engines like Scopus or other search engines. But sometimes, this kind of problems you may get even in normal Google search also. Simple mathematical problems which you are discussing about probability, statistics. So you can decide, you know how much time you have, about a month you have to complete the whole study. So literature surveys, you can decide. Ultimately, if you are able to get some literature with which you can compare your observation, there is nothing like that, If so, when you make a statement that there is no literature in this area, so you are that will really depend upon how seriously you have searched the literature for your problem, and it can be made out also. Any minimum number of pages of documents, question 1 and 2. Yeah, as I said, research proposal will be about one page. This whole thing can come in 1 page. Maybe you don't have to bother 1 or 2 pages also you can do. And this question 2 will go to about 5 pages. So question 2, this one, see, you have headlines, about 5 pages, you should be able to finish the whole thing. Maximum 5 pages. Don't write too much, write to the point. Hello, sir. Evaluation will also be done by the coordinator. So you don't ask me these questions. Evaluation will be designed by HBNI, but you submit to the coordinator. So that we will decide whether it will be coordinator or myself. Can I take data from published literature? So that is where the problem lies, So these assignments are being given with the view that you do the experiment on your own. Don't take data from literature. That's why I'm asking you, show your raw data also. The set of measurements that you have taken, you should write in your work, in your publication. Whatever paper you are writing, you write your raw data also. So it is not expected that you write from published literature, the data, and then, so because literature, then they have also analyzed it. So you are almost copying it. It will be amounting to plagiarism if you take a data from published literature and write one more paper. Though this paper will not be sent for publication in a journal, but it is expected that it is a new idea you have. Even if the idea is old, you have generated data. See, for example, when I am talking about flipping a coin, what data you will get from literature? So you generate the data, or like, pH meter. So pH meter, if you have access to a pH meter, you can always get the output in the volts, and you can measure the volts and the pH. So that kind of experiment, you should do it in your laboratory and show the raw data, and also put error bars on those numbers. So it is not expected that you take the whole thing from literature and write. So the paper also be written in the literature, no? Okay, Rajkumar Paul. Is it to be a new work proposal, or we can write on what works we had carried out already? Yes, that is what I am telling. That if you have already done some work, then you don't use that data, because then you are at an advantage compared to others who are who are doing their coursework. So it should be not a part of your thesis, other than your thesis topic. So anything you can do, you can do. See, you can think of an idea and do it even at home. You can do. So you don't have to do very experimentation where you have to prepare some sample in the laboratory, analyze it by XRD or elemental analysis. No, so you have to think of an innovative idea and do measurements very quickly. So it is not of that type that it is a part of your research problem. But if it is suppose you have got a new idea which has not been done and you want to do it in a month's time, welcome. But it should not have been published earlier. That's why the literature survey is important, that you have done research survey. It is not reported already. So that is the that's the best thing. If you get a new idea and do an experiment, a quick experiment, and write. So later on, that work you can publish also. But right now, I'm not. We are not aiming that you should generate a publishable paper. But certainly, you are welcome if you write a paper. If you do your work in 15 days time, where you generate some data which you can publish later on, surely. But as I am mentioning here in the first, other than your PhD thesis topic. So this is to discourage use of already work done, which is already done. If we have research paper on this work, can we refer to? Yes, you can refer to existing literature. Always you can refer. In fact, you must refer. If there is a literature, whether by you or somebody else, you should refer to that. Okay, is there any specific journal format tags to write the paper, or can we choose our own style? So I will not specify the style, as I mentioned. Now I have given you the head, this one, the topics here. You have to write on these: title, author, affiliation, abstract, introduction, materials and method, results and. So there is no style, no journal style. It is your style. Put your stamp on it. Choose your own style. Is there, okay, so can you elaborate on these assignment questions with respect to some theoretical subject like theoretical physics? Okay. So as I mentioned, in theoretical physics, you may, normally one may be tempted to analyze the experimental data published in literature and write your own theory. So that some of the theoretical physicists may take data from literature and write your own analysis of that data and write your own paper. But here we are telling that the idea should come from you. So if you read this first assignment, research proposal on a topic other than your PhD thesis topic. So if you can take a theoretical problem also, but it should be, idea should be such that you have to generate data on that. That is what I am expecting. You generate some data by whatever way you generate. If you are using some random number generation, and then you are doing some simulation, You can do that. For example, this detector efficiency people do by random number generation in this MCNP codes. But you should generate some experimental data, whatever you are doing, or by even by this one, it like some Monte Carlo simulation, random number generation. You should generate some data. So you can take problem in theoretical physics, no issue. I am giving broad guidelines. We cannot draw the contours of the problem and then say you work only this framework. The framework is very broad. I am just giving you a canvas. So you have to do the painting. So you can use your own colors, your own brush, your ideas, and express, bring it your innovative idea in the form of a work. So you have to think of new problem which may be simple and easy to handle. Can we get data from Google search as like data about someday, today activity? So we have to generate data from experiment of some observation. Don't use the literature data. That is where the ultimate crux is, that you should be able to generate some literature data. To take from some source, then you are essentially using the literature. Use your own, generate your own data, and you will enjoy doing it. So I am working in computational chemistry, molecular dynamics for my PhD. Can I select a topic in molecular dynamics, but for a different system from my topic? Is it acceptable? So you see, anything which is doable in a time frame of, let us say, 1 month, in 1 month time, you have to submit the whole thing. So think of an idea if you are able to do it, but I'm expecting some data you are going to generate. So by computation also, you will be able to generate some data. Go ahead. Can we use openly available data sets but perform analysis not already done? So data set already available, I would prefer that you generate data. So the real charm lies in generating your data. And so when you generate data, it has associated errors with it. So that is what is important. In what form we submit the assignment? What form means you say the first one proposal, you are writing a Word document, 1 page or 2 page. Second one, also 5 page, 4-5 pages, Word document. Third one is PPT or your presentation, voice recording. Whether paper should be by a single author, naturally, it is expected that you are doing it alone. You are just a scholar, so you are doing it alone. So single author paper. In what form? Hard copy or soft copy, we have to submit the assignment. Soft copy. You can generate soft copy, send to your coordinator. I'll share the email ID of coordinators. Is the topic chosen simple, then it is going to be after evaluation? No. Simply, don't think that if it is simple, then it will be less marks. It is the innovation, the idea, and the way you write it. So problem can be simple also. Don't worry about that. Idea is important. Question 2, we need to put references. If yes, then can I use any format you use? I've given you some format in my presentation. Use name, name of the authors, journal, volume, page number, year. Ritika Datta, provide some email ID where we need some. Yeah, I'll provide the email ID on the Anuvidya site you will get. Okay. So we will stop here. If you have further questions, you can write to me. What is the deadline to submit assignment? I tell 1 month. So 16th of March, you submit the assignment by 16th March. you keep looking at the Anuvidya site for assignment, my PPTs. Can we take graduation based practical as problem? Can we take graduation based practical? You can take any simple, like whatever examples I gave you, they are graduation based only. You can take simple problems. Okay, so we stop here. You can still write to me if you have any further questions and clarifications. I will be responding to your queries. Write to me in my email ID, tomarbs@sbni.gov.in, ac.in, or bstomar1957. We provide notes. So PPT will be uploaded today itself on Anuvidya site along with this assignment. So you have access to Anuvidya site. Look at that. Yeah. Can two or more people collaborate on the project and then write individual reports? Don't so these problems are independent problems of each student. So I don't expect that what we are looking for is no two students should have the same write-up, same report. So the title should be different for each student. The title, the paper, so that is the main idea. Okay. Okay. All the best to you, and work hard. Think of new ideas. All the best. Coffee. उधर ही लेके आई. Can two or more